Ori is the most important game I've ever played. These two games mean a lot to me. And there's a reason why video games have proven to me time and time again why they are my medium of choice for storytelling. And perhaps, most importantly, how I relate to those stories. Today, I want to share why I cherish these moments so much. I don't remember exactly when I started playing the first game, but I know it was in late 2016 or early 2017. At the time, I wasn't doing too good. I got out of film school, not really knowing where I was supposed to head towards. My relationship with my father was getting tricky, and money was tight as ever. Aimless, I ended up moving to my mom's house to get back on my feet, straining that relationship in the process. Going to an old job to catch back up on money. I started to play a lot of indie games back then, and simply because they didn't cost a lot and didn't demand a lot of specs to run on my PC, which I still use to this day. But there was this one game I wanted really bad to play, because I learned about it at school during class, and saved up for it. That game was Ori and the Blind Forest. On my first playthrough, I cried. I cried so much. I nearly dehydrated myself to a point of filling an ocean. The story of isolation and restoration of relationship and parenting, it broke me and shook me to my core. The story and music were largely what I gravitated towards. There isn't a single adjective in the entirety of the English language able to describe the feeling of understanding and acceptance I received from playing the first Ori game. Saying it was magical would be to fantasize some part of me that went to a dark place. And saying it was relieving would be to deny that part of me that kept close to his chest the pain of those struggles at the time. Those sentiments, they've stuck with me. The first 10 minutes are all about destroying you emotionally. And, well, it did just that. And the ending is all about sacrifice and acceptance. What does a parent do when his child is in danger? Well, you give it unconditional, pure, raw, and unfiltered love and care. This drew in parallels close to my condition with my father at the time and started part of the healing process, if even a little. And so, life went on, occasionally coming back to unearth these parts of me I associated with Ori. This woodland spirit of light, venturing out and finding a place in the world strung along a path unknown without a clear direction. This was me, not as the player. This was me. This sadness and isolation is something I still confront from time to time in my life. But I'm glad I get to understand these emotions better now. Not because I can speak about them with words, but because I see a story that parallels one mine. It masterfully balances out these moments of hope with the realism of the state the world is in, juxtaposing these with warm reunions and more somber confrontations with strangers. When I say Ori is special, it's because it came at the right place, at the right time in my life. Putting aside the actual quality of the game, it's something that resonated with the power of the mightiest hammer striking a chisel of unbreakable steel directly onto my heart. Then, I waited. E3 2017. Ori and the Will of the Wisps announcement. I've never had such a raw appeal to emotions to game announcements as I did at the time. Something darker perhaps awakened within me. A sentiment of losing yourself within your own thoughts, completely living in the present and what it was going to meant. to relive part of those buried feelings into a follow-up of one of my most cherished video game experiences. Not necessarily all for positive reasons as well. Willingly diving back into those past memories. Like opening a coffin of your own buried emotions. Then, I waited more. Life took its course during that time. Changing jobs, following up on some dreams, moving out, inspiring and mentoring other youngsters, healing past relationships, making new ones, dealing with the first signs of the pandemic, and many more. March 2020, the month of the game's release. Lost my job like many due to COVID restrictions. Broke as I was in college with actual consequences if I failed to pay my bills. Decided to celebrate the game's release with my playthrough of Ori and the Blind Forest, since I didn't want to risk $40 on my bank account at the beginning of lockdown. While playing, of course, a couple of the usuals at the time came over to hang and talk like we used to. And Trevor appeared and simply said, "This is important. Add me as a friend, like right this second." Trevor bought me the game. As a person who has had a hard time making connection all throughout his life, this was somewhat liberating. A friend I've never even seen took the initiative to do a gesture of love. My first thoughts was of not having the ability to immediately give back some part of me that could have shown my gratitude. Simply said thank you and, well, I moved on. The following day, I instantly went on to play the follow-up to one of the most important games of my life. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is greater. It demands greater attention and builds its drama over the course of a much more thorough journey. When I say it's an important game to me, it's because it's true, perhaps even more so than the original. It's a story that explores many more themes: divinity, family, sacrifice, responsibility, grief, acceptance, nurture, friendship, isolation, rejection, cycles of life, and those are the only ones that I'm aware of. Once again, Ori left me weeping in the beauty and darkness of its story. Something about putting greater emphasis on the whole of its ideas and lesser on a more compact story. Everything layered into a crescendo of falling dominoes, ultimately showing the darkness that some may never escape it, and to accept the light whenever someone offers it. Do not let fear control your whole being. Isolation is a deep hole where people stuck in fear the whispering light due to its rarity. Compassion and acceptance will lead to healing the mind and land, but it takes time to regrow these seeds into mighty trees of giant stature, building a community of trusting individuals around you. When I say this game affected me more than the original, I meant to say, this game completed and revealed some of these suppressed feelings, jumbled into my mind and neatly packed into this one icon on my desktop. Whenever I play Ori and the Blind Forest now, I don't have any more anxiety of reliving those twisted visions of myself, or my way of expressing myself. Ori and the Will of the Wisps taught me to accept and heal from my mental scars, to not let myself be caught in a place where hope cannot pierce through the clouds. Cry, let it out, push it out, feel it deep within yourself to accept that sometimes not everything needs to appear as good. Sometimes accepting to reach out and take the help you've been offered. Cherish your time with your loved ones. Nourish a sense of community. Create positive changes by surrounding yourself with your own family. My hostility and fear during the ending of the game dissipated into pleasure of sharing this moment to myself. It came at the right place, at the right time. If the first game hammered a chisel into my heart, Will of the Wisps relieved me of the shackles surrounding it. There are plenty of reasons to recommend both of these games. I can list several instances in which these are above their competitors in most categories. However, at the core, I've never revealed why until now. These are deeply personal experiences to me, mirroring some part of the healing process between me and my father. Putting into visuals how isolation is a traumatizing experience for most, how newfound families and friends can help you through mutual support, and at the end, celebrating and appreciating the good of one's life for the benefits of others. This is my reasoning behind two of my absolutes in video games, and I truly and deeply hope you find one for yourselves as well.